Shalom, my friend. You walk into a thrift store, you walk into an estate sale, you see a beautiful mahogany dining table. It looks like it belongs in a palace. The tag says $200. You look it up online and a new one costs $5,000. Your heart starts beating fast. You think you found the deal of the century. You think you are being smart. You think you are hacking the system. You buy it. You bring it home. You polish it. You put it in the center of your dining room. And suddenly, within 2 weeks, the atmosphere in your house changes. You and your wife start fighting about money at dinner. Your children, who used to eat peacefully, start acting out. You feel heavy when you sit down to eat. You feel a tightness in your chest. You blame the stress at work. You blame the economy. You blame the weather. But you never ever blame the table. You should blame the table because you didn't just buy a piece of wood. You bought a recording device that has been soaking up the emotional screams of the previous family for 50 years. You bought a table where a divorce was negotiated. You bought a table where bankruptcy papers were signed. You bought a table where a family fell apart. And now, you have invited that energy, that specific frequency of destruction, right into the heart of your sanctuary. Today, we are going to talk about the law of Rishimo, the law of spiritual impression. We are going to expose the dangerous lie of the vintage and secondhand market. I'm going to teach you why buying used furniture is often the most expensive mistake a person can make. You think you are saving money. You are paying with your soul. You are paying with your peace. You are paying with your mazel. I am Rabbi Boaz, the Torah life strategist, and today we are going to learn how to quarantine your home from the ghosts of other people's failures. We are going to learn why the wealthiest, most spiritually attuned people I know, the billionaires who understand energy, will never, ever sleep on a used mattress or look into an antique mirror. This is not superstition. This is spiritual hygiene. If you wouldn't wear someone else's dirty bandage, why are you sitting on their dirty trauma? Let's go deep into the mechanics of why objects are not just objects. To understand why a chair is not just a chair, we have to look at the Kabbalistic concept of Rishimo. The Zohar teaches us that every event, every strong emotion, and every spiritual action leaves an imprint on the physical space where it happened. In the book of Habakkuk, the prophet says, "For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam out of the timber shall answer it." What does this mean? It means the walls have ears. It means the furniture has a memory. Physical matter is not dead. At the quantum level, it is vibrating energy. It is empty space held together by force fields. When a human being generates intense emotional energy, anger, grief, lust, greed, or despair, that energy is not just in their head. It is broadcasted outward. It hits the objects in the room. And just like a tape recorder uses magnetic tape to capture sound, wood, fabric, and stone capture emotional frequency. This is why when you walk into a room where a violent argument just happened, the air feels thick. You can feel the tension even if everyone is silent. Now, imagine a piece of furniture that has been in a house for 30 years. Imagine a sofa. That sofa has absorbed 30 years of that family's frequency. If that family was loving, kind, and wealthy, maybe the sofa is benign. But let's be honest about why things end up in estate sales or thrift stores. Usually it is because of 3 things: death, debt, or divorce. These are the 3 Ds of the secondhand market. When you go to an estate sale, you are walking through the ruins of someone's life. Everything must go. Why? Because they died, because they went bankrupt, because they split up and had to sell the house. You are picking through the debris of a tragedy, and you think you are getting a bargain. There is no such thing as a free lunch, and there is no such thing as a bargain on trauma. When you bring that object into your home, you are bringing the reshimo, the residue of that tragedy. You are planting a seed of that tragedy in your own soil, and seeds grow. Let's talk about the specific dangers. There are three categories of furniture that you must absolutely avoid buying secondhand. If you have these in your house right now and you bought them used, you need to listen very carefully because they might be the source of the invisible wall you keep hitting in your finances and relationships. Item number 1, the bed and the mattress. This is the holy of holies of the home. The bed is where you are most vulnerable. You spend 1/3 of your life unconscious on that rectangle. When you sleep, your soul leaves your body. Your conscious defenses are down. You are completely open to the spiritual atmosphere. The Talmud says that sleep is 1/60th of death. It is a spiritual state. Now think about what happens in a bed: dreams, nightmares, sickness, sweat, intimacy, arguments, tears. A mattress is a sponge for the deepest, most primal human energies. If someone spent 10 years sleeping on that mattress suffering from chronic depression, that mattress is radioactive with the frequency of depression. If someone spent 5 years on that mattress cheating on their spouse, hiding secrets, living a lie, that mattress is soaked in the energy of deceit and betrayal. Fabric and foam are soft materials. The laws of Tuma and Tahara, ritual purity. Soft, porous materials absorb impurity much more deeply than hard materials like stone or metal. You cannot kasher a mattress. You cannot clean the energy out of foam. It goes to the core. I had a client, a young man, very ambitious. He moved into a furnished apartment in New York City to save money. The previous tenant had been a high-powered trader who had a nervous breakdown and lost everything. My client started sleeping in that bed. Within a month, he started having panic attacks. He started waking up at 3:00 a.m. soaked in sweat, terrified about money, even though his business was fine. He felt a crushing weight on his chest. He came to me and said, "Rabbi, I think I'm losing my mind." I asked him, "Who slept in your bed before you?" He found out the story. I told him, "Burn the mattress tonight. Sleep on the floor if you have to." He dragged it to the curb. He bought a cheap, brand-new air mattress until he could afford a real one. The panic attack stopped that night. Do not sleep on someone else's history. Do not let your dreams filter through someone else's nightmares. Even the frame, if it is wood, it can be cleansed, but if it is upholstered, if it has a fabric headboard, it holds the energy. The bed is the foundation of your shalom bayit, peace in the home. You need a fresh foundation. You need a virgin vessel that holds only your energy and your spouse's energy. Do not introduce a third partner, the ghost of the previous owner, into your bedroom. Item number 2, the mirror. This is the most mystical and dangerous item to buy used. Mirrors are not just glass. In Kabbalah, a mirror is a portal. It is a klai, vessel of reflection. Why do Jewish people cover the mirrors in a house of mourning Shiva? There are many reasons, but one of the deepest is that the soul of the deceased is still lingering in the home for 7 days, and we do not want the soul to become trapped or confused by the reflection. Mirrors record the image, tzelem, of the person who looks into them. Think about who looks into a mirror and how they look into it. Most people look into a mirror with judgment. They look at themselves and say, "I look old, I look fat, I look ugly, I am a failure." They project self-hatred into that glass every single morning for 20 years. A vintage antique mirror with that beautiful gold frame. It might have hung in the hallway of a woman who hated herself for 40 years. It might have hung in the bedroom of a man who was consumed by vanity and ego. When you hang that mirror in your house, you are hanging a projector. It projects the accumulated din, judgment, back into the room. Have you ever walked into a room with an old mirror and felt like you were being watched? That is not your imagination. That is the accumulated energy of thousands of stares trapped in the matrix of the glass. The eyes are the windows to the soul. The mirror catches the gaze of the eyes. If the eyes were evil, if the person had an ayin hara, evil eye, the mirror caught it. Do not bring a portal of judgment into your home. Buy a new mirror, fresh glass, clean silver. When you look into it, you want to see you. You don't want to see a distorted signal mixed with the insecurities of a stranger from 1920. I know people love antique mirrors. They think it adds character. It adds character, all right, the character of a ghost. The character of the past. If you are trying to build a new future, why are you decorating with the past? The only exception is if the mirror belonged to a tzaddik, a righteous person. If you can buy the mirror of a great rabbi or a saint, do it. That mirror absorbed Torah and light. But what are the odds of that at a garage sale? 0. The odds are you are buying the mirror of a narcissist or a depressive. Don't take the risk. Item number 3. The upholstered throne, the chair or sofa. There is a concept in the Torah about Moshav Leitzim, the seat of scorners. The Psalm says, "Happy is the man who has not sat in the seat of the scornful." Why does it mention the seat? Because the seat dictates the posture and the posture dictates the mindset. But more physically, a chair absorbs the kavod, weight, honor of the person. When a father sits at the head of the table, that is his throne. When a businessman sits behind his desk, that is his seat of power. If you buy a used executive chair from a company that went bankrupt, listen to me closely. You are sitting in the seat of failure. You are placing your physical body in the exact indentation carved by a man who was losing his empire. His stress, his clenched muscles, his sweat of fear, it is in the leather. It is in the foam. You sit there and subconsciously your body aligns with his stress patterns. You start making decisions from a place of fear, not power. You are literally filling the shoes, or in this case, the seat of a loser. I don't care if it's a Herman Miller Aeron chair for $50. If the guy who sat there was fired, leave it. Buy a $50 plastic chair from IKEA that is brand new. A cheap, clean vessel is infinitely better than an expensive, corrupted vessel. Newness has the energy of Keter, potential. Usedness has the energy of Malchut, finality. When you are building wealth, you want potential. You want possibility. You want a blank page. Used furniture is a page that has already been scribbled on. You are trying to write your story in the margins of someone else's book. Now let's address the vintage aesthetic trap. I see this with young people. They want their house to look like old money. They want the patina. They want the history. They think it makes them look sophisticated. Let me tell you a secret about old money. Real old money families, the Rothschilds, the ancient lineages, they value their history. They value their grandfather's chair. They do not value your grandfather's chair. They keep their own heirlooms because it connects them to their specific ancestral line of power. Buying a random stranger's heirloom is pretending. It is spiritual cosplay. You are wearing a costume of wealth, but it is a costume made of other people's memories. If you want to build a dynasty, start your own traditions. Buy a new table. It might look plain today, but in 50 years, when you are a billionaire and your grandchildren are eating at it, that will be a holy table. That will be an heirloom charged with your victory. Do not import a fake history. Build a real one. But Rabbi, what about the environment? What about waste? I hear you. We should not be wasteful. But there is a difference between recycling raw materials and reusing spiritual vessels. If you can strip a piece of furniture down to the bare wood, sand it, restain it, and reupholster it with new fabric, that is different. That is Gilgal reincarnation. You have stripped away the old identity, the finish, the fabric, and given it a new soul. That is acceptable. The wood itself, the raw material, can be redeemed. But the interface, the fabric, the finish, the part that touched the human body, that must be renewed. If you are willing to put in the work to sand it down and rebuild it, you can transform the energy. But most of you are not doing that. You are buying the smelly velvet armchair and spraying it with Febreze. Febreze covers the smell of the dog, but it does not remove the smell of the soul. So what is the protocol? What if you are broke? What if you literally cannot afford new furniture? I have been there, I understand. Poverty forces us to compromise. But there is a hierarchy of compromise. Rule 1. Never buy used soft items, mattress, pillows, plush sofas. It is better to sleep on a futon on the floor that is new than a luxury mattress that is used. It is better to sit on a milk crate that is clean than a sofa that is spiritually dirty. Rule 2. Hard surfaces can be cleansed. If you buy a used wooden table or a metal shelf, you can perform a spiritual cleansing. Step 1. The salt wash. Scrub the item with water mixed with sea salt. Salt cuts the energy. Step 2. The sun bleach. Leave the item out in direct sunlight for a full day. The sun is Orhagana's hidden light. Sunlight acts as a spiritual disinfectant. The UV rays kill bacteria and the spiritual rays kill the klipot. Step 3. The declaration of ownership. This is the most important part. Stand in front of the object, place your hands on it, and say out loud, I nullify all previous ownership of this object. I command all foreign energies to leave. This table is now the property of your name. It is now a vessel for my blessings, my family, and my service of God. It is made new. You must reclaim the territory. You must evict the squatters. But what if you already have a house full of used stuff? Do you have to burn it all down? No, but you need to do an audit, walk through your house. Look at every used item, close your eyes, ask yourself, how does this make me feel? If you feel a dip in your energy, if you feel a subtle wave of sadness or anxiety when you look at that antique dresser, it has to go. It is an active drain. If you feel neutral or happy, maybe you have already colonized it with your own energy. Strong positive energy can eventually overwrite weak negative energy. If you have a powerful, happy home, your light might have already purged the darkness of the object. But why make your soul do that work? Your soul has enough work to do fighting the world outside. Why make it fight the furniture inside? Your home should be a battery charger, not a battery drain. When you come home, you should be recharged by your environment, not actively filtering the background radiation of a stranger's trauma. Let's talk about the inheritance exception. Is it okay to keep your grandmother's table? Yes, if, and only if, that relationship was a source of blessing. If your grandmother loved you, if she prayed for you, if she was a woman of faith and strength, then that table is a kamea amulet. It is charged with the energy of her love. Keeping it connects you to the root of your blessing. But if your grandmother was bitter, abusive, angry, or lived a life of tragedy that you are terrified of repeating, get rid of the table. I don't care if it's family. Yichus, lineage works both ways. You want to inherit the blessing, not the curse. Abraham sent away Ishmael. Isaac sent away Esau. We prune our family tree of negative influences. You must prune your physical environment of negative inheritances. Just because it is DNA doesn't mean it stays. Just because it is an heirloom doesn't mean it holds a place of honor. If the energy is heavy, let it go. There is a concept in the Torah of tsarat, often translated as leprosy, but it wasn't a disease. It was a spiritual affliction that affected skin, clothes, and houses. If a house had tsarat, streaks of green or red on the walls, the priest would come. First, they would empty the house. Then they would scrape the stones. If it came back, they would tear down the house. The stones were hauled outside the city to an unclean place. Why? Because the very stones had absorbed the evil speech, lashon hara, and the selfishness of the owner. The physical material had become corrupted by the spiritual sin. We don't have priests to check for tsarat today, but we have intuition. We have the Holy Spirit of our own soul. If you walk into a thrift store and you see a chair and you feel a check in your spirit, listen to it. That is your soul warning you about spiritual tsarat. That item is infected. Do not bring the infection home. Finally, I want to give you a vision of what your home could be. Imagine a home where everything is intentional, where every object was brought in with a purpose, where every piece of furniture is a virgin vessel dedicated to your success and your peace. It doesn't have to be expensive. Minimalist and clean is better than cluttered and cursed. When you live in a clean vessel, the light of God can rest. The Shekinah, divine presence, looks for a place to rest. It cannot rest on chaos. It cannot rest on the residue of other people's sins. It rests on purity. When you stop buying used, you are making a statement of faith. You are saying, God, I trust you to provide for me so that I can afford my own things. I'm not a scavenger, I'm a creator. That shift in identity from scavenger to creator is the shift that turns a thousandaire into a millionaire. The scavenger looks for what others have left behind. The creator builds what has never existed before. Be a creator. Build your sanctuary with fresh stones. Build your life with fresh energy. So here is your homework. Go to your bedroom, look at your mattress. If you bought it used from a stranger, you have a project to do, replace it. If you can't afford a new one today, start a mattress fund jar. Put every spare dollar in it. Make it your #1 priority, because your sleep is your fuel. If your fuel is contaminated, your engine will never run at full power. Look at your mirrors. If you have a creepy antique mirror that makes you look distorted, take it down. Smash it. Put it in the trash. Go to a store and buy a $20 plain new mirror. Look into it and bless yourself. Say, I am new, my reflection is new. Watch how your energy shifts. Watch how the heavy cloud lifts from your house. You are not just decorating. You are constructing a spiritual fortress. Keep the gates guarded. Do not let the Trojan horse of a good deal bring an army of problems into your castle. I am Rabbi Bose. Your soul is the blueprint. Your life is the construction. Now go secure the perimeter. Shalom.